Hi friends, Christy here over at Crafty Christy's Creations, and today we're going to talk about the essential products needed to get started with paper crafting. And there's not too many things that you need to get started, and then you'll learn as you get more into it, there's more products that you want to add to your collection. But here are the basic few things you need to get started to make your first paper craft. First of all, you need your cutting machine. Mine is a Silhouette Cameo 2. And then the next thing you're going to need is your cutting mat. I recommend making your mat not as sticky if you're using a brand new mat, because when you go to peel the paper off of it, the paper is actually going to stick really well to the mat and it's probably going to rip. So what you're going to want to do is grab a rag that is low fibers, like a flour sack bag or something like that, and you'll take this off and then you're just going to dab this all over your mat to try to get off some of that stickiness. So that way the paper will still stick, but it will easily come off when you're done cutting. Speaking of paper, I recommend starting with some cheap paper that's good quality, like Recollections. You can get this at Michael's or on Amazon, and you want to get a good assortment of colors, a rainbow of colors. And the best part is, if you get this from Michael's, there's no reason to not have a coupon when you get some paper. This is a good 65-pound cardstock, and it's a good weight to get you started. As you go along, you may notice that you needed some heavier cardstock for certain projects or for bases of your cards, in which case a lot of people use Basil paper or American Craft cardstock. And, but just to get started, this Recollections paper is a good place to start. And then some other essential tools that you'll need are some glue. I like having just liquid glue on hand. And then I also have a tape runner that I use. And these are my main ones that I like to use for my paper crafting. And then when you're looking at your liquid glue, this one here is made by Scotch Creative, and it has a little bit more of a precision tip to it. I know it's hard to see here, but they also make little glue bottles that you can add glue into that has a very small precision tip, which is great for when you're making small little drops of glue on little tiny pieces of paper. So liquid glue, to get started, I've tried a lot of different ones. I don't really have a preference yet, but just a good tacky liquid glue. And then for if you wanted to do a tape runner, these are good for when you're adhering down like large pieces onto other pieces of paper, like when you're layering up the inside of your card. This is Tombow Mono Permanent Adhesive, and that's what I like to use for that, and it's quick. The one downfall with the liquid glue is that if you use too much of it, you are going to end up warping your paper. So that's why I like using the tape runner, because it's not going to warp my paper, but once you stick it down, it's good and stuck. So if you wanted to add more sticky glue type things to your collection, the next things you could think about are some foam, and they come in foam squares or dots, and then also strips of foam. And they come in different widths and different thicknesses. These two here I picked up at the Dollar Tree, so it's not high investment. I find them great for when I'm doing, especially the strips of foam are great for when I want to do shaker cards. I can use this to add some bulk to it to give the shaker pieces room to move. And then the foam squares or foam dots are really nice for when you want to add some extra dimension. Again, these are not necessary to get started, but this is a step up. The last couple things that are good to have on hand is some kind of scraper tool. Again, I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. This is in the paint and putty section, and I use this to help me get my paper off my mat. So I flip my mat over, and then I'll stick this under here and pull my paper off, hold my paper down while I pull my mat away from the paper. And that keeps things from ripping. and tearing, and makes it much easier to get everything off your mat. So I highly recommend some sort of scraper tool or spatula. And then when I'm done, I also use this to go through and scrape off all the extra bits that are left on my mat. And then the last thing that I recommend is some sort of piercing tool. So this is a really fine tip here, and this is again another Dollar Tree item. And the piercing tool here, when I have fine cuts that didn't quite punch out, I can use this to punch those pieces out. And then on the other end here, I have a flat surface, and this is really nice to use as a bone folder. So when I have those score lines that I want to really crease. So I've got this, and then the other thing you could use is a real bone folder. So the one I have here is from Stampin' Up, and again, it's just a nice strong piece here to help you get those nice crease lines. So there you have it. There are the essential basic products needed to get you started with paper crafting, and then a couple of extras thrown in. But again, I got a lot of these items from the Dollar Tree, which makes it not a very high price point to get you started.